Welcome, boys. Okay, in this video, we are going to be conducting an experiment. Now, you may have watched a previous video of mine where I did a battery restoration on the Camaro's battery. And I did that after watching Sweet Project Cars do the exact same thing on a battery. And he used this machine. And in the video he did, he didn't show any testing before or after, and I noticed a lot of the comments were like, well, it would be nice if you load tested it, like, so we can confirm that this works, since it is, cool looking and all. And I thought, that's a pretty legitimate critique and criticism. Maybe I can do that. So I went out with my own cash money and purchased this guy, and I tested it on the Camaro, and it did seem to improve the battery a little bit. But I've also watched other people do videos where they take the battery and they dump all the acid out of it and then kind of clean it, splash some water around on the inside, and then fill it back up and then charge it, and then they say that that works as restoring a battery. So I thought, why not do both and then do something that Sweet Project Cars didn't do, which is load test a battery with this thing. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and get some measurements on this thing after it's been charged with my solar charger. Then we're going to do the trickle charger, the 8 amp one that I use on the BMW. And then we're going to get some results. We're going to use this big associated 200 amp machine to run 200 amps through it, get the acid boiling, test it again, and then we are going to clean it, and then charge it up, and then see, and then check it again, load test it, and see if you can actually restore battery, if what Sweet Project Cars does works, and if what the other guys does works, and if whatever happens if you combine both methods, can we get some really awesome results? So stay tuned, boys, and let's find out. Okay, and the first test we're going to do on this is with it being charged naturally with the solar panel that I still use. So the solar panel's up there. That's the battery tender thing to keep it from overcharging, the charge controller they call it, and I just pulled it off for this test. So if we look down here, we're at 12.52 volts. Bam. Okay, so let's test it. Okay, and this is what it says after doing the test. It's 675 amps. We are at 255 amps. I did select that on cold cranking. State of health is 14%. State of charge is 86%. It says replace. So that's test number 1. We're going to charge it up with the one I use on the BMW, this Schumacher 8 amp charger. So we're going to charge it now, test the result, and then after that we're going to go ahead and attempt our restoration at this thing. Okay, and that is it charging. Come back once it's charged. And in less than an hour, as you can see, it says charge maintaining because it's done charging. So let's retest it. As we can see, the voltage went up 0.2 volts, so not much. See how many amps and everything we have in charge. Still out of vehicle, however, we're going to say after charge. Regular flooded, cold cranking amps, 675. And the survey says... So it says replace, state of charge is now 98%, still 250 amps. So the only thing that's changed is the charge went up a bit, which tells us two things. One, that this is the most we can get out of the battery at the moment. And the other thing it tells us is that my solar panel, along with the charge controller, is in fact keeping this battery tended. Because I have this thing attached normally, not that one stays on the BMW. This thing stays on this battery, hell, it's been like a month since the last time I actually charged it with anything other than this. And so that proves that it does work, and I'm only mentioning that because in a previous video I did where I actually did a review of that solar panel with the charge controller, the guy said that it doesn't work. I'm lying and made the whole thing up because he has one and it doesn't work or something, and Harbor Freight was paying me to say that. And it's like, bro, one, my channel ain't anywhere near big enough for Harbor Freight to sponsor me on anything, and two, it actually does work because I keep it on this battery, and this battery stays charged. Well, as charged as it can get. So I'm going to go ahead and only mention that in this video because of that guy, and I'll actually send him a link to this video if I can go and find that comment. That way he can watch it and see that it in fact does work. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and attempt to service this battery, and then we're going to now do our best to restore it, and then we will check the load and see if it improves once we use our once we clean all the fluid in here, all the yucky stuff out, and then use this guy to boil the acid and see if we can't clean it and restore it. Okay, boys, and just like with the Camaro, we are going to use this guy and boil this here acid. So as you can see, pull the cell caps off. Liquid ain't doing nothing yet. Just chilling. There's a little bit of a view of some light in there. So you can see water looks a little dirty. And that's where after we do this first boil and then check with our machine what happens, and then we will go ahead and do where we differ from the Camaro's battery, where we actually pour this acid out into a container and then try to clean the inside of the battery and then put the fluid back in and then see if we can get better results than we did with the Camaro. Okay, machine's on, making that humming noise. Let's see what the inside of the battery looks like. We are getting some bubblies. This one's a little slow to react. Everything else seems to be about the same. So we're on 12 high. We'll give her 15 minutes. So at about 3, we'll turn her off, and then we'll see how it's doing. And, you know, for something we didn't do with the Camaro, I do want to see what the temperature is inside this battery. So let's see, what is this acid's temperature? That is interesting. The acid boils, or appears to boil, but the temperature in there is no different than the concrete. So it's not actually boiling. It's just energized, I guess, when the current's running through it. So that is neat. That is interesting. So I guess then you wouldn't really have to let it cool down. Probably would be a good idea though. So we'll let it run for 15 and I'll see you boys back in a bit, and then we'll start the extra process that we didn't do with the Camaro. Okay, so we've let the machine cool off a little. Let's do an out-of-vehicle test. That's definitely going to be after a charge. Regular flooded, cold cranking, 675. And the survey says 14% state of health. We only went up, what, 20 amps or something like that? It was somewhere between 200 and 270. It's a different day, so I'll have to go back and check. We have one less ohm of resistance. Surprising considering the battery's still fairly warm, I think. Okay, but now comes the fun part, the cleaning stuff. Yeah, it's at 13 volts, so I'll let it cool down a little, but... Alright, let's go ahead and dump this acid out into our container and check how clean it is. Okay, so this is going to be our acid container. So let's pour everything out and see how dirty it is or isn't. Imagine it'd be pretty dirty. So I do have to ask the question now, boys. Should this stuff be this dirty? It smells horrible, too. I mean, that shit ain't clean. Alright, well, put the lid on for now so no contaminants get in there, or any more get in there, rather. Man, I almost think I'm going to need to put new acid in here completely. But we'll see. I'll see if I can strain that or filter it or something, so I can get it semi-clear again. But we're gonna wash this out now with our distilled water. We'll go outside for that where it's lighter. Okay, now that we're outside and that thing's empty, which is still very heavy, by the way, even with all that liquid out of it, we are going to go ahead and use this funnel, which is too big, but it'll have to do. We're going to fill each cell up with a little bit of water and give her the old shaky shake and see how many times we have to do this until this water comes out clean. Okay, boys, and see, as you can see, it's nasty. Plus, it's making a cool fizzing noise, so I'm guessing the acid's reacting to something that's in the bucket. But there she blows. So we'll go ahead and rinse and repeat several more times. No need to see it, but we'll go over how many times I have to do this until it turns that color again coming out. So see y'all in a bit. Okay, boys, we'll try not to get in your way too much, but we're going to take our nasty acid, the original acid, and pour it back in there. I have a coffee filter in there now, and that's going to go into our 1 gallon jug. That should about fill it up, I think. If not, we have, another empty one we can use. But I'm trying to see if a coffee filter would work better, or if I just want to use like a sacrificial t-shirt or microfiber or something to strain that liquid, that acid, and make it kind of clear again. So we're going to attempt to get this strained. And I imagine it's going to go about as well as you guys think it is, which means it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a shit show. But once I get it more in there, I'll be able to more easily switch it back and forth between these two containers and then filtering / straining it over and over again, and then that'll work. But this one, I'm sure will be a shit show, so let's get her done. Okay, boys, my filter ended up breaking, which is why it started pouring so fast at the end there. A little bit of residue. I'm going to rinse this tub out, and then now that we know that it's roughly half a gallon, go ahead and just strain it back and forth through the filter between this jug and the other jug until it's, well, done catching particulate, I guess, and then we'll add it back, top it off, and test it. Okay, boys, so we are ready to fill her back up with our acid and then top it off with distilled water. So we strained / coffee filtered it 4 times total. 2 coffee filters, twice with microfiber. Ain't much cleaner looking, but there isn't any sediment in it now, so I guess it's cleaner. So we're going to top her off after we fill her up, and then we test it to see if it got if it can hold any more of a charge. So fill her up. Okay, boys, and we just need to top off this final cells, probably right about where the fluid level needs to be. All the other ones need topped off. Or you could say I overfilled this one and then not enough of those, but it shouldn't take much of a top off. Okay, boys, we're back in the basement. It started to rain out there, but no big deal. We had to come back in here anyway. Alright, so we are at 12.14 volts. Yeah, we're going to say before charge since we technically haven't charged it since we did that topping off. Hey, yo. So it says replaced, but the state of health went up to 31%. State of charge is only 23. So what happens if we charge it? What do you think, boys? Should we do a slow charge or should we heat this thing up again? You know what? Let's do a boiling test on it again. We'll boil it for 15. All right. Let's do 12 volt high. Bam. Okay, it's about 10 after. Getting a little bit of activity in them. So, let's see what happens. A little status update before I shut her down. So we're bubbling in there quite nicely. I'll go ahead and pop her off, and then I'll let her settle for a little bit this time, and then we will check our condition of the battery with a load test and see if I think I need to do this anymore, if we can slow charge it after I wait about a day or so. Alright boys, we're back after we've let this chill for a minute. 12.34 volts. Out of vehicle. Say it's after charge this time. Regular flooded, of course. Cold cranking amp 675. And the survey says went down 18%. State of charge is only 56% though. So, having said that, then I'm going to go ahead and put this thing on our 8 amp trickle charger that I normally use on the BMW. We're going to charge this beast overnight, and then when we come back, we'll check it again. Okay, boys, it's the following day. Hasn't quite been 24 hours, though. But that doesn't matter, because as you can see, our machine does say it is charged and maintaining. So let's go ahead and see what the battery state of health is, and if cleaning the battery yields any better results than just running high current through it. Okay, and here we are, 13.2 volts. Imagine in an hour or so that will settle down to 12.6, so I may come back and test this again. But so far it's not looking promising. It's looking like cleaning the inside of the battery is a colossal waste of time, and just running high current through the battery yields the same or better results with a lot less time. But we'll be back in about an hour, let this thing settle down to 12 volts, see if that makes a difference. Alright boys, it's been about an hour, down to 12.6, so let's see if we have any improvement. No improvement, really. State of health went up a few percentage, I think. But we're still at 290 amps. So, alright. To conclude this particular test, then, I'm going to go ahead and say, for anybody watching, wondering then, Sweet Project Cars video was true, I would say we do have some success, as we've done this test and then on the Camaro, where we only ran high current through the battery, and the results seem to be about the same, or doing what we did on the Camaro's battery, maybe slightly better. This battery is only, I don't know, a few years old, from what, 2017 or something? The one that's in the Camaro is the factory battery from 2010, and I think just running high current through it actually yielded the same or better results than trying to clean the liquid that's in here, as that doesn't seem to have done much at all other than be a huge time sink. So, in conclusion, I do think if you need to try to restore the battery slightly, I think you'd be better off just running that high current through there, and not bothering with the liquid cleaning thing, because that doesn't seem to have done any better for us. The results seem to be the same, or the high current may be slightly better. I have to compare that with the Camaro's results. We did increase the amps by 90, so almost a 50% increase from where we were at only 200. But I think we would have got those results with only running the high current, if I'm honest. So we'll go ahead and I think the next test then is going to be, what if we just took the fluid out of this battery and put new fluid in there? Put new sulfuric acid in the correct ratio of distilled water and see if that makes a difference. And that'll be a part 3, I think. But I'll go ahead and cut this part now and call it a boom done. So thanks for watching, boys. Peace.